They say betrayal doesn't always come with a warning. Sometimes it wears a familiar face and pours your morning coffee with a smile. For me, it came in the form of a Facebook message. But let's rewind a bit. My name's Dan. I'm 45, live just outside Austin, Texas, and until recently, I was a regular married guy who coached Little League on the weekends and grilled ribs like it was a sacred ritual. I've been married to a woman named Rachel for 17 years. We met in college. She was this fiery little thing with wild hair, a sharp tongue, and a laugh that made you think she knew a secret about everyone in the room. I liked that. Or maybe I liked the challenge. We built a life together. 2 kids, 1 dog, and a house that always needed something fixed. Rachel worked in event planning, I ran a small real estate business. On the outside, we looked like a postcard. But the thing about postcards, they only show you the front. It was a Tuesday morning when it happened. I was sitting at the kitchen table, half awake, sipping burnt coffee while the kids fought over the last cinnamon waffle. Rachel was already out the door, off to set up a wedding for some trust fund bride in Hill Country. I opened Facebook to check notifications and there it was. Hey Dan. You don't know me, but you need to see this. Attached were 2 photos. One of them was Rachel, my wife, very much not at a wedding. She was in a hotel lobby, laughing like she hadn't a care in the world, sitting across from a man I knew all too well. That man was Greg. My sister's husband. At first, my brain refused to accept it. I thought it was photoshopped. A joke. One of those AI pranks. But the second photo showed them walking arm in arm, and there was no mistaking it. The red scarf Rachel always wore. The birthmark on Greg's neck. It was real. I just stared at my screen while the coffee went cold in my hand. You ever get punched in the stomach but can't feel it until 10 seconds later? That's what it was like. I closed the app. Reopened it. Closed it again. Checked the sender's profile. It was a burner account. No friends, no info, just those photos and one message. I thought you should know. Well, thank you, anonymous hero. You just blew up my life before 9 a.m. I didn't go to work that day. I didn't even change out of my flannel pajama pants. I just sat there replaying every moment from the last 6 months, her late night, client emergencies, the extra perfume, the suddenly locked phone. Greg, of all people. That smug bastard. Married to my sister, Melissa, for 8 years. They have a kid. We all used to do backyard barbecues together. He once asked me to be his groomsman. I felt sick. I knew I had to tell her. My sister. She deserved to know. Now, Melissa is not the kind of woman you mess with lightly. She's got a stare that could melt steel and a voice that goes from 0 to courtroom in session in under a second. She's a high school principal, God help you if you forget your hall pass. I drove straight to her place that evening, photos printed out in a manila envelope like I was about to present evidence in a trial. She opened the door in sweatpants, holding a wine glass. Hey, you okay? You look like you just saw a ghost. I wish I had. We sat down. I didn't know how to start, so I just handed her the envelope. She pulled out the photos, took one look, and said, "Son of a bitch." No tears. No questions. Just that. Then she stood up, walked to the sink, poured out her wine, and said, "All right. Let's ruin their lives." There's something oddly therapeutic about planning revenge with your sister. Like therapy, but with more sarcasm and less insurance paperwork. Melissa and I sat in her kitchen with a legal pad between us, like we were brainstorming a PTA fundraiser. Only instead of bake sale and raffle tickets, our list read things like: Step 1, confirm everything. Step 2, don't confront yet. Step 3, make them really regret it. Her pen scratched across the paper like a prosecutor prepping for closing arguments. We're not just going to blow this up, Dan. We're going to cook them first. That's how you know we were raised by the same woman. First rule of infidelity: if you think you've seen the worst of it, you haven't. I spent the next few days playing detective. Rachel still had no clue I knew. She kissed me goodbye in the mornings, texted, "Busy day babe," in the afternoons, and called me, "Hon," like she wasn't exactly just working late with my sister's husband, if you know what I mean. Meanwhile, I started digging. Phone records. Calendar, events. Even her shared Google Drive, which, fun fact, had a folder titled Client Retreats, that contained exactly 0 work-related files and one very interesting selfie of Greg shirtless on a hotel balcony. Subtle, Greg. Real subtle. Melissa was doing her own sleuthing too. She hacked into their family iPad, which Greg, in his infinite idiocy, synced with his phone. Let's just say we saw enough to confirm, this wasn't a one-time slip. This was an affair with weekend getaways. They even had nicknames. One of them Rakapi. And even talk of what ifs. What if we left them? What if we started over? Well, they were about to get their answer. Here's the thing about betrayal: it'll eat you alive if you let it. But I wasn't about to let it. I kept my cool. Took the kids to school. Went to work. Played the part. Even cracked a few jokes over dinner. Rachel, completely unaware, had no idea I'd seen the curtain drop on her backstage act. Melissa and I checked in daily. Sometimes we ranted. Sometimes we laughed, mostly out of disbelief. But every call ended with the same question. When do we drop the bomb? We didn't want to just end things. We wanted impact. See, confronting cheaters isn't satisfying when they get off easy. You want them to look around at the rubble and realize they built this mess themselves. Melissa came up with the idea first. We do it on the same day, she said. Same time. Same words. A twin strike. Coordinated. Clean. Devastating. We scheduled it 2 weeks out. Plenty of time to gather more ammo and prep our exits. I met with a lawyer. Got my finances in order. I even wrote Rachel a goodbye letter, because no way was I letting her spin this into some vague, "we grew apart" story later. And Greg? Well, let's just say Melissa had something special planned for him. The night before D-Day, I looked at Rachel as she slept beside me. Funny how someone can lie so peacefully while their whole world is rigged to explode in the morning. I didn't feel hate. Not really. I felt done. Done being the good guy who gets blindsided. Done being the one holding the line while someone else crosses it. Done pretending not to see what was right in front of me. Tomorrow, I'd stop pretending. Ever hear that saying, "Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned"? Well, they forgot to mention what happens when you scorn her brother too. Melissa and I synchronized our watches like we were launching a military op 7 p.m. sharp, Wednesday evening. The kids would be at grandma's, phones charged, letters written, fax printed. All that was left was to say the words. I had dinner ready when Rachel got home. Chicken Alfredo, her favorite. I poured her wine, lit a candle, even shaved. She walked in smiling like she hadn't detonated our marriage behind my back. "You're in a good mood," she said, kicking off her heels. Yeah, I nodded. Had a productive day. She took her seat, complimented the sauce, made small talk about a client's over-the-top wedding. I smiled. Nodded. Checked the time. 6:59. One last bite of chicken. One last sip of wine. Then I said, "I know what's been going on with you and Greg." Just like that. She froze. Fork halfway to her mouth. You ever see a soul leave someone's body in real time? Yeah. That. Her eyes darted around the room like she was checking for cameras. What did you say? I said, I repeated calmly, I know what's been going on between you and Greg. You know, the one who always brings that bad Merlot to family dinners. Silence. Then denial. What are you talking about? That's insane, Dan. Where is this coming from? I pulled out the folder. Dropped it on the table like a plot twist in a courtroom drama. Photos. Messages. Hotel receipts. Her love letter she'd titled, "What If?" You can stop pretending, I said. The game's over. While Rachel was choking on her lies, Greg was over at Melissa's. He thought they were having a date night. Instead, she handed him a manila envelope, a glass of water, and a seat at the kitchen table. You'll want to sit down for this, she said. She told me later that he tried to deny it too, but you can't really explain away a hotel invoice from a weekend you swore you were working late, and an email that starts with, "I miss your lips." Greg started sweating like a kid caught cheating on a test. Melissa, cool as ever, just smiled and said, "Don't worry. You'll have plenty of time to come up with a better lie, alone." Rachel moved through all 5 stages of grief in about 10 minutes. Denial, it was just texting. Anger, you were always distant. Bargaining, we can fix this, Dan. Depression, tears. Snot. Shaking hands. Acceptance, I never meant to hurt you. I sat there quietly, letting it all wash over me. I'd already grieved the marriage. This was just the burial. When she finally asked, "What now?" I slid the letter across the table. My lawyer's name is on the bottom. You'll be hearing from her. She burst into tears again. I didn't flinch. You made your choice, Rach, I said. Now you live with it. Melissa kicked Greg out that night. Packed his stuff in boxes and left them on the porch. When he tried to argue, she told him, "Don't make me go public." He left. Rachel tried calling me the next morning. I'd already blocked her. Changed my locks. Cancelled the joint credit cards. She sent an email, long, rambling, filled with half apologies and excuses. I didn't respond. I forwarded it to my lawyer. They say cheaters never prosper. What they don't say is how fast they crumble when they realize the world isn't buying their side of the story. Greg moved into a sad little extended-stay motel off the interstate. A motel with that classic long-stay vibe. Rachel, meanwhile, was still in the house, my house, technically, but we'll get to that. She looked like this, she seemed weighed down by guilt and exhaustion. Melissa and I. We were thriving. Bonding. Healing. Plotting, just a little. Justice wasn't our goal, but sometimes it finds you anyway, who are we to say no? A few days after D-Day, Rachel started damage control. She called my parents. It was a mistake. We were going through a rough patch. Dan's being irrational. Yeah. I'm the bad guy for being upset you were sneaking around with my sister's husband at a hotel. Luckily, my folks aren't idiots. My mom said, and I quote, "You made your bed, sweetheart. Shame it was someone else's husband in it." Then she hung up. Rachel also tried the friend route, texted my buddy Mike, hoping for sympathy. He responded with a thumbs down emoji and a link to a moving company. Even her work circle started getting wind. Turns out, event planners gossip like barbers. One of her clients canceled their wedding package after doing some research. Apparently, trusting your planner becomes harder when she's known for ruining marriages, not organizing them. Greg didn't fare much better. He tried crashing on a buddy's couch, but that dried up when the guy's wife found out why he was homeless. He showed up at Melissa's a week later. He looked like someone who'd just been returned to sender by life. Asked if he could just see the kid. She let him. But only under supervision. And only after he signed papers agreeing not to introduce our niece to any new partners, without court approval. He tried guilt-tripping Melissa. I've got nowhere to go. You've got Rachel, she said. Build something with her. Or on her. You two clearly know how to make a mess. Now, look, I never wanted to be the guy who weaponizes social media. But when Rachel tried floating a post about healing and forgiveness, like she was Gandhi in heels, Melissa and I had enough. We shared a simple post. No names. Just this. Funny how two people can ruin 4 lives and still think they deserve sympathy. Actions have consequences. Healing doesn't mean forgetting who broke you. Over 200 likes. Several shares. And enough mutual friend unfollows to start a forest fire. They got the message. By week 3, lawyers were involved. Rachel wanted mediation. I said sure, if by mediation, she meant me keeping the house, the dog, and my dignity. She wasn't entitled to much. Texas isn't fond of cheaters, and neither is my attorney. She cried in the office. Said she never expected me to go nuclear. Nuclear? Lady, you detonated this marriage with your own hands. I just walked out of the blast zone. Greg's divorce was moving faster. Melissa wasn't playing. She had everything documented, filed, and signed. He didn't fight it. I think the man was too tired from living off vending machine Pop-Tarts and shame. I slept better. Ate better. Even started going to the gym again. There's something powerful about walking through fire and realizing it didn't burn you, it burned them. Melissa and I started doing family dinners. Just the two of us and the kids. No drama. No fake smiles. Just peace. There's a strange kind of silence that follows destruction. Not the kind that scares you, the kind that frees you. After weeks of unraveling a life I once thought was forever, I finally stopped waking up with that pit in my stomach. You know the one. That little weight on your chest that whispers, something's wrong, before your feet even hit the floor. Well, one day, it just didn't show up. Turns out, betrayal doesn't have to break you. Sometimes it clears the path. I'm not gonna lie, divorce paperwork is about as fun as chewing drywall. But once that was rolling, I started focusing on me. Gym 3 times a week. New haircut. Started eating food that didn't come from a freezer. Even picked up an old hobby I hadn't touched in years, woodworking. Built a bench for the backyard. Not perfect, but it didn't fall apart, so hey, already better than my marriage. Melissa noticed the shift. Look at you, she said, sipping iced tea one afternoon on that same backyard bench. Like a divorced Bruce Wayne. Minus the Batmobile. I'm working on it, I smirked. One emotionally damaged plank at a time. Word around town was she and Greg tried to make it work. Moved into a rental together, some beige little ranch house with peeling shutters and a busted fence. Perfect metaphor, really. They lasted 2 months. Greg lost his job. Turns out, getting involved with your brother-in-law doesn't exactly impress HR. Rachel picked up extra shifts, tried to keep things afloat, but between the whispers and the guilt, it didn't take long before she started missing the stability we had. She called me. Left a voicemail that started with, "I just want to talk," and ended with, "I'm sorry for everything." I deleted it. Melissa's update came a week later. She moved out. Back in with her parents. I'll admit, I didn't feel joy. But I did feel closure. One afternoon, I got a DM from someone unexpected. Her name was Elise. She'd been friends with Rachel years ago, back when we first got married. We'd all gone out as couples once or twice, but I hadn't seen her since, probably our 10th anniversary. Her message was simple. Hey. I heard what happened. I just wanted to say, good on you for handling it with class. Not many men would have taken the high road. Let me know if you ever want to catch up. Coffee's on me. Now, look, I wasn't ready for anything serious. My heart still had scaffolding up. But I was curious. And I did like coffee. So I replied. We met at a little cafe downtown. Nothing fancy. Just two people sipping lattes and catching up on 10 years of life. Elise had divorced 2 years earlier. No kids. No drama. Just a mutual realization that this isn't working. She was sharp. Funny. Knew how to make a sarcastic remark without sounding bitter. I liked that. We didn't talk about Rachel much. Just a passing mention and a mutual agreement that she was always a bit dramatic. We laughed. We sipped. We lingered. And when the coffee was gone, she said, "Next time, I'm buying lunch." There was a next time. And a few more after that. I didn't fall head over heels. That's not how this works after heartbreak. But I felt alive. Seen. Comfortable in my own skin again. And that? That was more than I expected. Melissa was cautiously amused. So, you're dating now? Not dating, I said. Just, existing adjacent to someone who isn't a soul-crushing liar. Progress, she nodded. It wasn't about Elise. It wasn't about payback. It was about something else entirely. Peace. I found it in the quiet mornings. In the smell of sawdust. In a kid's laughter over dinner. In the absence of chaos. Turns out, second chances aren't just about romance. They're about yourself. I used to think the high road was this lonely, self-righteous path where you grit your teeth and pretend you're okay while the people who wronged you frolic through life, untouched. Turns out, that road gets real crowded when karma finally starts answering voicemails. And Rachel? She was about to get front row seats to her own downfall, in HD. Small towns have long memories and loud whispers. Ours is no different. It started with an old friend of Rachel's, Katie. They used to throw wine nights and talk about men who don't get it. Katie reached out to me out of the blue. I'm sorry. I had no idea. If I had known what she was doing, I never would have let her use my spare key. Interesting. Turns out, Katie's guest bedroom had seen more of Greg than her own husband did. Rachel had lied to her too, said they were just crashing after a long event. Yeah, they weren't just resting. Katie wasn't the only one. Stories started coming out. Half-truths, sideways glances at the grocery store. People who used to side-eye me were now sending sympathy nods and warm hellos. Rachel didn't like that. Now, I never went public with the details. Never dragged her name through the mud. But Rachel couldn't resist the drama. She posted some long, oversaturated Instagram caption. Sometimes you have to break to heal. Sometimes love looks different than the fairy tale you expected. I'm choosing growth, even if the world doesn't understand it. Insert yoga pose, soft lighting, and a Bible quote she definitely didn't live by. But the comments? Oh, the comments. Is this about you cheating with your brother-in-law? Girl, growth doesn't mean lying in hotel rooms. You were the fairy tale villain. Sit this one out. She deleted the post by morning. Greg tried to rebuild, too. Got a job at some startup. Lasted 6 weeks before someone shared the story with his boss. Apparently HR frowns on employees who've made headlines in the divorce gossip group on Facebook. Fired. Again. He tried to reach out to Melissa, for closure, he claimed. She forwarded me his message. It started with, "I've grown so much from this experience." Melissa replied with a single line. Great. Keep growing. Far away. Late one night, Rachel came by the house. Uninvited. I was on the porch, sanding a bench. What can I say? I got real into carpentry. Therapy's expensive. Sandpaper's not. She stepped into the light, wearing one of those old sweatshirts of mine, like nostalgia was gonna do the heavy lifting. "I just need 5 minutes," she said. "You've had 17 years. You didn't value them." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You're different now." "No," I said. "I'm just me without the weight of you." We stood there in silence. "I miss us," she whispered. "Then maybe you should have fought for us," I replied. "Instead of doing what you did with Greg at that hotel." She didn't argue. Didn't cry. Just nodded, like maybe that was the first honest thing she'd heard in a while. Then she left. I went back to sanding. Funny thing about healing, you don't always notice it until you realize the rage is gone. I wasn't angry anymore. I didn't wish her pain or punishment. Just distance. And maybe a life lesson or two. Melissa and I were both doing better than ever. The kids were thriving. I even taught my nephew how to build a birdhouse. And Elise? Still around. Still kind. Still nothing official. But something real. And that? That was enough. I used to think endings were loud. A slammed door. A shouted confession. The sound of a suitcase zipper echoing down the hallway. But when it finally ended, really ended, it was quiet. Peaceful, even. Like a long exhale after holding your breath for too many years. This story doesn't end in fire. It ends in clarity. 3 months after D-Day, I got the envelope in the mail. Final decree of divorce. No party. No cake. Just my name on a page, hers scratched across the bottom, and a court seal making it all official. I read it 3 times, not because I didn't understand, but because I needed to feel it. Like really let it settle in my bones. She's gone. And I'm still standing. No, scratch that, I'm thriving. After our porch encounter, she went radio silent. She sold the car we shared. Moved out of her parents' place and into a 1-bedroom near downtown. Word is she started seeing someone new, a bartender or a yoga instructor, depending on which mutual acquaintance you ask. We never spoke again. Not even for the holidays. She sends the occasional awkward gift for the kids. I don't interfere. But I don't help her look good either. She made her choices. Melissa? Oh, Melissa's killing it. She renovated the guest room, started a side hustle baking custom cookies, don't ask, it's surprisingly lucrative, and even went on a date with her chiropractor. His name's Kyle. He's hot. I deserve a Kyle, she told me with a wink. Damn right, she does. She and I still meet once a week. Game night with the kids. Wine on the porch. Therapy in the form of unfiltered honesty and shared laughter. It's a bond most people don't get. Trauma does that. It either breaks you apart or locks you in for life. We chose the second one. And me? I never thought I'd be a man starting over at 45. But turns out, second acts are underrated. I've got my own place now. Cozy, full of wood and stone and that old man smell of leather and coffee. The backyard's got a fire pit, and yeah, I built the damn bench myself. The kids are doing great. My daughter asked me once, "Are you and Mom ever getting back together?" I just said, sometimes, things break in ways that can't be fixed. But that doesn't mean we're broken. She nodded like she understood. Kids are smarter than we give them credit for. Elise. We're still slow. No labels. No pressure. Just coffee dates that turn into long walks. Dinners with laughter. Texts that make me smile at red lights, don't tell the DMV. I told her everything, about Rachel, about Greg, about the whole mess. She didn't flinch. Just listened. Then she said, "Well, you made it out stronger. That counts for something." It does. The final word. So here it is. I got cheated on. Blindsided. Got punched by the two people who should have had my back. And you know what? Best thing that ever happened to me. Because sometimes, the storm doesn't destroy you. It clears the debris. It forces you to rebuild. Stronger. Smarter. Happier. That's the thing about endings, they're just beginnings with better boundaries. And now? Now I wake up with no pit in my chest. No lies hanging in the air. Just coffee. Sunlight. And peace. And brother, let me tell you, peace hits different when you've earned it. That's it. That's the story. No drama. No begging. Just a man who walked away, found himself, and never looked back. Thanks for listening. And if you're ever in my shoes, breathe deep. Stand tall. And never let betrayal write your final chapter.